Okay, so if we're looking things up in a big kid dictionary, the first thing that you're going to need to know is how to enter things with ancient Greek letters. And so there's a couple options you can use here. You can set your keyboard to input with Greek keys. The easiest way, though, is just to know what different English letters correspond to which different Greek letters. And for the most part, this is going to be pretty straightforward. So you can see A, alpha, B, beta. Most of them correspond to the English letter that makes sense. The only places where this gets weird are for letters that don't have an obvious letter that corresponds. So for something like a theta, you just need to know which convention things are using. So Unicode Greek, the Q becomes the theta. You can see C is xi. Other than that, I think they're more or less pretty straightforward. And then here, don't worry too much about these. These are different accent marks. As long as you're using the transliteration here, you won't need to worry about the different accent marks. So from there, we come on over to the Archimedes Project, which is basically the entire Greek lexicon, and you can just enter things here. So if I want to look up, let's say, anapauo. So I need to set my this to Unicode, and then since I haven't put accents, it's going to usually give me one word off from what I want, and here we have anapauo. And then from here, what you can see is all of these different, this is the full dictionary entry for the major lexicon, the Liddell, Scott, and Jones. The nice thing about this is you can scroll through just as though you were looking in a real dictionary. So you can just scroll word to word to word. This will help if you're not exactly sure what word you're looking for. You can pick, you can put in what you know. Maybe you're not sure if it's a contract verb, something like that. You can get pretty close and then scroll. You can also see, for example, from anapauo, here's anapausis, a noun that's derived from it. And so that will give you a lot of information. This, again, will give us the full dictionary entry. You may not always want the full dictionary entry. There's a lot of information here. So when you're looking at a entry, we'll go back to anapauo where I started here. So we have our different uses, right? We have, here's our main use, make to cease, stop, or hinder from a thing. We have some examples of usage here. And then it's going to give us references for what we're looking at. So Iliad 17:550. Here's an example from Sophocles, Oedipus at Colonus. So we'll see these different, you kind of need to know the codes for which different authors, how they're abbreviated, but once you know that, this will give you places you can go to look. So under this first major category of make to cease, stop, or hinder, we have all of these different uses. We can have an accusative only to put an end to something. We can to bring to a close. Sometimes we can have it with this intransitive use. Here's a specific use if we're talking about land. It can be to lie fallow. And then we get a second category. So with the middle and passive, to take a rest. And then we have examples of that here. And then finally, we have, so under 2, this is 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. So you can see all of these different uses sort of categorized into different types of uses. So up here, we have also a bunch of different dictionaries. So you might conceivably want to look up in a Homeric lexicon, something like that. And so here we have our example in specifically just Homeric uses. So the other place where you can look things up is this word study tool through the Perseus Project. We'll tell you, it will parse the form for you. This can really be something that will prevent you from getting good at reading Greek on your own. So please do not rely on this parsing tool, but if we look something up, so again, I just type in Anna Powell, it pulls this right up. And I have my LSJ, this is the full big lexicon, and this gives us all the same information except lots of pieces are going to be hyperlinked. So if I want to look at, here's the Iliad example, and I can go directly to that passage. So the hyperlinks are very helpful here. The other thing that's nice is that you can use the Middle Liddell. And so if you don't want all of that information, this is a stripped down, simplified alternative. So we still get the same uses, but we're not getting every example. We're cutting out a lot of the extra stuff. It can make it a little bit easier to deal with. So those are the main ways that we're going to approach using a lexicon when you're looking up words